Are commodities actual alternative investments? The answer is yes, but it depends. And which one's the best one for you? Hang in there, I'm going to talk about what that is right now. All right, so you might be wondering what commodities are. Is it actual alternative investment? Can you do something with it? Does it actually grow? Does it create passive income? Could it create passive income? Is that possible? That's what I want to address in this video right now, because this could be a great type of investment to add to your portfolio if it's done the right way. All right, so first and foremost, let's talk about what commodities actually are, right? Commodities, if you ever watched the movie Trading Places with Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd, I know this dates me, that's back in the 80s. You watch that movie, they talked about trading commodities, things like orange juice and corn and things like that. Soy is part of that too. So you have those things that you see traded on the stock market that are based on that. Oil, have you ever seen oil or gas prices, things like that. Commodities, gold, silver, heck, you might even throw digital currency like Bitcoin kind of into this commodity space too, right? The real commodities are the ones that have real things backing them up, right? I say that because digital currency is kind of questionable about what's real, what's not. But when you're dealing with things like oil and gas, you're dealing with gold and silver and those kind of commodities, they are real things. Now there's a big distinction here because many people think that when they own commodities, they own the paper version of it. So for example, you can go in the stock market, you can find indexes to trade on gold, or gold mining companies and things like that. I will repeat, that is not a commodity. It's not a commodity. If you buy those kind of things, that's a paper asset. There's really four actual asset classes, right? There's business, like owning your own business, that kind of thing, or owning somebody else's business. There's real estate, there's commodities, and then there's paper assets. Almost everything you see that financial advisors offer, as well as what you see traded in the stock market or traded at anywhere, right? Those are all paper assets. Even when I talk about infinite banking and whole life insurance is also a paper asset. Paper assets are fine, but what's happening is many people think they're diversified by buying all these paper assets in different places, but they're really not. Remember, gold can actually increase in value, but the paper asset, the thing that you have that you're trading on it, could actually go down. For example, if all of a sudden gold prices are going up, but someone who's trading the actual paper asset, whether it's the mining companies or whatever it might be, they trade that. If more people sell that specific investment, not gold in general, but selling that paper asset, and maybe the big investors or institutional investors like the big companies, the financial institutions that buy into these things, if they sell off a good chunk of it, that price can go down even if gold doesn't go down. So remember, they work a little bit independently of each other. So that's why if you're going to buy commodities to diversify, buy the real thing. So what do I mean by that? How do you buy the real thing? Well, for example, gold and silver. You could, yes, buy like the ETF, right? The exchange traded fund, or you buy the actual bullion. Now I use different websites. You can go find places. I use jmbullion.com. I go there because there's usually pretty good deals that you can find. But I'll go buy the actual coins, right? Or the gold bars or silver bars and things like that. You can buy different ones. You can buy different ones from countries. You can buy like South African cougarans, right? You can go buy stuff in Canada, the maple leaf or the US eagle, whatever it might be. You can buy those different things. You can buy even in tenth of ounces. So usually you buy them in ounces or multiple ounces or grams, whatever it might be. Gold is a lot more expensive, obviously. Gold, right now, when we're recording this, is right around $2,400 an ounce. But silver is closer to about $27 an ounce, right? So a lot of times you can buy different things. Many people say, well, how do I buy this? How does this become part of my portfolio? How do I diversify into this? Well, the truth is you can use it to kind of almost back up your emergency fund. Now, you've probably heard me on this channel. If you've watched this channel, by the way, subscribe and like. If you like this video as well as others, the Money Ripples channel, we have a lot of different investment strategies we talk about. And we talk about infinite banking as a saving strategy. And we'll talk about saving in the bank, saving with infinite banking inside that whole life policy. But another thing you can do to save your reserves, because people still say, yeah, okay, I got the infinite banking that helps fight against inflation, but I feel like I need to protect my money that sits there and does nothing. How do I make it make more money? And I remember I had a lot of this question, especially like in 2010, right? People were wondering, hey, it seems like nothing. I put my money anywhere. The market's starting to come back, but I don't trust it, right? Where do I put this? Well, I said, well, you could always buy gold and silver bullion. And they said, okay, well, how do I do that? So they go find the way to do that. And then I said, well, here's what you can do. You can take of those 6 months of reserves, what if 1 or 2 weeks of those reserves are actually held in gold and silver instead? So now you have a little bit of way to fight inflation. Because in general, when inflation goes up, Gold and silver goes up as well with it because it's that inflation hedge. When people see inflation or they get scared of certain markets, they start throwing their money in those kind of places where they feel it's safe, right? Gold historically tends to be safer than silver. But the thing is, silver's cheaper. And so a lot of times we have clients doing that, say, well, just take a small portion, put that there, that's what goes in your safe or whatever, and that helps kind of give you an inflation hedge with your money that just sits there and does nothing. Now, they were like, well, what do I do? Do I buy gold or silver? I'm like, well, you can buy both. A lot of times we might say, well, why don't you do like 75% silver, 25% gold? I mean, you can do whatever percentage you want, but the truth is silver, the interesting thing about silver is that silver is not being made as often anymore. It's not being created by the earth, right? They actually believe that 90% of all silver has already been discovered. Where with gold, they barely feel like they've even scratched the surface. So even though gold is more valuable, it's had that higher value in people's eyes for a longer time, it's also not as rare as silver. And silver also gets used a lot more in technology and other things too, so it gets used a lot more. So silver can be a more rare commodity and it's cheaper, so it's easier to buy, especially if you're trying not to buy, an ounce of gold at $2,400. Now you can buy 1/10 of an ounce of gold as well, and you might be spending a couple $100 on that, right? So there's different options there to kind of diversify it and do your own thing. But just know this, here's my big warning about commodities, or a lot of commodities, not all of them, but gold and silver specifically, and even with digital currencies too, is that these things do not create cash flow. They do not create passive income. I look at them more like insurance policies, right? Insurance against inflation. It's insurance against Jay Powell in case they decide to keep doing dumb stuff and printing more money. It's great for that. But it does not generate income. I had one client in particular that he had $90,000 in gold and he would not sell it. He's like, no, I got to hold it because I do not trust the government. I told him, I was like, listen, I don't really trust the government either, right? I know that they're going to do stupid things with money. That's why we have bad inflation. But look at this. You've got tens of thousands of dollars of credit card balances. We could pay these balances off. We can actually generate an extra $1,500 a month for you, and you'll still have some gold. You just have to sell some of the gold to be able to do that. Oh, but gold's value could go up. So he hummed and hawed about it. He eventually didn't do it. Just so you know, gold prices didn't go up during that time at all, but he could have had instant cash flow freed up by paying off those credit cards. So a lot of times I tell people, like, listen, you've got gold, silver, Bitcoin, whatever it might be, great. But if they're already hitting like big highs like Bitcoin was, why not profit off of those big swings? When dumb money goes in, they start driving up the price really high, really fast. That might be a good time to say, what if I take some of that money out and then use that to create more income? It could be paying off debt. It could be increasing your cash flow there. Or it could be investing in something else like real estate where it does have appreciation and it has cash flow. And you can actually make more money there than you might even make in those other currencies. By the way, it doesn't mean that you don't buy digital currencies. I bought Bitcoin when it was down around $6,000, sold it when it was around $50,000 because once I saw that my high school buddies were trying to buy into Bitcoin, I knew that was the time to sell. And I picked right because it dropped down to 16,000 after that. So it's not that you don't do these things, but do not count on those things making you rich necessarily. Now, oil and gas, I have money in oil and gas, but I do oil and gas investments that are backed by real estate, where I own the land and we get paid royalties from those mineral rights, from all of the commodities being pulled out of the earth. That's a great way to do it. Even natural gas, which is kind of a semi-green energy, is a great way to be able to profit, and it helps people out, right? It actually helps be able to give us more supply that we need in our country and even in other places too, and that even helps keep gas prices down. So if gas prices do go up, I don't mind that either because I make more money and I get paid income off of those royalties from the production of it, because it's the business that's producing the income. It's not the oil that I'm just holding onto a barrel of oil, right, and waiting for the price to go up or down. No, I'm getting paid off the actual minerals being pulled out of the earth. I'm getting paid off that business production. So that's another way you can also make income off of commodities. Again, I don't think you should put a large amount of commodities, especially if they're not cash flowing, but you can definitely have a certain amount in there that allows you to diversify. Even if you have real estate, even if you've got stocks and bonds or whatever you got, it's a great way to diversify your portfolio and be able to have more money. So is it an alternative investment? Yes, commodities are an alternative investment. Unfortunately, most financial advisors ignore it, or they tell you to buy the stock version of it, the paper asset version. I would suggest that you start looking at the other alternative side that they do not get paid on, which is why they don't recommend it, which is more like buying the real, tangible stuff that actually has more value than the paper asset. Those are the kind of things I would look into for you. Again, you make your own choice, consult your financial professional, see what's best for you. I would just say this, If you're looking for more options, more ways to be able to make money or more cash flow passive income, subscribe to this channel, like this video, and comment. Let us know what kind of commodities do you like as well. And you can actually learn more here today.